Welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, we love seeing you every Thursday night live over on Facebook land, YouTube land, so that's great to see the chats lit up every week. Also, remember, your chats may show up on the show, so that's a special treat for some of you. And as always, if you can't catch us live, we love having you join us, either on the replays or on your favorite podcasting app. You know me, my name is John Ruark. I'm a past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. Next up for his introduction, Jason Richards. Hey, Jason.
Hey, John.
How's it going?
Good. I'm
Great.
Jason Richards, past master of Vacation Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, member of a couple other lodges in D.C. and Ohio. Ohio.
Great to have you. All right. Next up, Joe Martinez. How's it going?
Hello, Joe Martinez, still worshipful master of Manasseh Lodge number 182. Actually visited Acacia Lodge number 16 tonight. Did a little program there. Yeah, Jason was not there, but I was there representing, member of Benjamin B. French Lodge number 15 in Washington, D.C., Ezekiel Bates Lodge in Massachusetts, whole bunch of other lodges, and as always, damn glad to be here.
We need a
language.
Like a ticking clock. Like, how many days has Joe been worshipful master?
No. Well,
like
as long as it's counting down and
no. It's like the national debt clock. It only goes one way.
No, let's make it like the doomsday clock. Like at this point, he loses his crap.
No, that was before you were installed as worshipful master.
And starts a fire.
Last but not least, the one, the only, Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson.
Howdy. Robert Johnson, past master Waukegan, current sitting secretary at Space Novum 1183 in Libertyville, Illinois, the premier education lodge, and also pro tem secretary at Waukegan 78
for life.
I don't know about for life. A couple of years. I got the current master, Gene Gross, who is a baller, man. That kid is awesome. He's going to take over secretary. I'm going to probably finish out this year and next year, and then he's got it. So
don't count your chickens.
I won't count them.
I believe in you.
I could just
do it.
You could just walk. You're a jerk for doing it, but I could. But anyway, I liked how you said you keep saying still. Right, in terms of your worshipful master status, what if that just means the dictionary still? Like you're
calm, stoic.
Yeah. Ordinary, static.
I'm definitely not calm or stoic.
Let me
just say, I do have to say, you know what's not calm, and I friggin' love it. You are best dressed this evening. That shirt is on fire.
Look at that thing.
So we were just talking about that. So I went to Acacia Lodge in Clifton, Virginia. Had to go do a program there because I'm the DEO for our district, and it was Hawaiian shirt night. And I'm not just a regular Hawaiian shirt type of dude. So I searched the bowels of Amazon and found this beauty right here. Absolutely love it. And super cool. I dig it.
Very nice. Super cool.
My Hawaiian shirt has cats on it.
Everything in your house has cats on it.
Nobody cares.
All right. Let's go.
At my house has cat hair on it.
Before we get to tonight's episode, special love goes out to the patrons who support the show. Head over to patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable to get hugs and muchos besos.
Muchos besitos. See.
Mm-hmm. Little kisses. Awesome. Thanks.
Yes, that's what it means.
Yep.
Let's do Tarot Card of the Week.
Tarot
Card of the Week.
So I just got back from Rehoboth Beach in Delaware. I was over there for the 4th and went to an interesting bookstore and picked myself up, surprise, a new tarot deck.
I don't believe it.
I know. This is the Pasta Tarot.
Wow.
Which, by the way, is rapidly becoming one of my favorite decks that I have. Because it's made and designed by a couple of Italian Americans, based off of the Rider-Waite, and it is phenomenal. And so tonight's card is Ye Old Hermit.
The Hermit.
I like it.
Yeah.
Nice. So, old Italian dude with pasta-shaped clouds in the sky.
Why does he have to be Italian?
Dreaming about
Why does he have to be
pasta.
Italian?
Well, I mean, pasta is, it's Italian American, right? It's got to be a little bit of.
Oh, no, he's Italian American. Okay.
It's Italian American.
Okay, so
The outfit is intense.
I think, like, I look at this and I go, wow, what is the symbology that we see from card to card? Usually there's something out there. I love that the clouds are noodles.
Mhm.
He is on a high veil there, perhaps looking down at the lady down there who he's going to help up the hill at some point. Where's the lantern, though? Is it the hat? I don't know.
The cane. Yeah.
It is pretty fantastic, though. I think it's great.
But he's
Probably.
looking away. He's looking away from
Probably.
the family. So he's actually doing his own little soul-searching spirit quest introspection.
Just blazing that trail.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because we did like a couple, maybe almost months to a year ago, about like which tarot card represented kind of each of us. And I know this one was RJ's jam. Right. So that you resonate with the Hermit, right, Robert?
Yeah, I think I resonate with the Hermit. I probably recognize with something less, if you're looking at major arcana for sure, but
Right.
I think a lot of us have really great cards that we connect with. I mean, all of us are in some way Hermit, in that we're just trying to shine a light. If what did you used to quote Isaac Newton, John, quite a bit. You used to say if you saw farther, it was because you stood on the back of a giant.
If I have seen farther, sir, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants.
Right. And so if we've got any of that, in that sense, we're all sort of hermits, because if we've got any kind of height and we're seeing farther, and if there's any kind of cliff or mountaintop that we're standing on, all we're doing, right, like with TMR or whatever we're doing, right, is holding up that lamp. Hey, come up here. We're up here. You can come up too. We'll help you when you get here. So that's just the idea of the hermit, right? It's just helping others to find a path. I think we all do that. So,
Amen to that. Good. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Jason. Now, let's get into tonight's show, which is a really special one. Super special one. Something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. In fact, if you're listening live, we are not doing Apotheosis and Freemasonry. We are doing a celebration of Robert Johnson for doing 600 episodes of Whence Came You. So, applause all around.
Champagne and
Wow.
strawberries, baby.
Pulled the rug right out underneath of them.
wow.
Prestige
Yeah, you
worldwide.
sure did. Is that for real? You're just messing around.
No,
No,
for real, for real.
For real. This is all about you tonight.
We've been planning this since we saw those numbers inch right up as you were doing 590, 595. We're like, guys, we got to do something special for Robert. So, Robert Johnson, this is your life.
Wow, that's cool, man. Wow. All right.
So tonight we want to pick your brain, hear from you what 600 episodes feels like, some highs, some lows, some of this journey that really started a lot of people's, if not Masonic journey, their digital Masonic journey, mine included. So this is really just here to reflect, to be that hermit and do some soul searching, look at what you have brought to Masonry in general and this podcast in particular. And this is an absolute, hopefully a good surprise to lift
Very
your
much
spirits.
surprised. Yeah, I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
So I had originally entitled this Celebrating Robert Johnson, but then I didn't want people to be like, whoa, is he dead?
Yes.
I died.
In
Well,
memoriam.
maybe I did.
You died to yourself every day.
Yes.
That's right.
An ego death. Yes. Awesome. So, man of the hour. why don't we start things off and just kind of start broad and just say, what does 600 episodes of WCY mean to you as far as this whole journey that you decided to undertake many, many years ago? Personally, to Robert Johnson, what has that journey meant for you?
I feel like that's a crazy question, but it's kind of like learning along the way with people, right? Because when we're doing episodes, we're reading papers. Like, I very rarely read a paper in advance. I find something, I kind of skim it, and I go, "This sounds like something that might be interesting to people," and I learn it while I'm reading it.
Nice.
And I think just doing things like that, always kind of being on the same playing field. It's kind of what we do here on TMR is always learning together, right? We always have said, keep searching for more light. And I think 600 episodes is like, you think back and you go, wow. I mean, there's probably 20 or 30 episodes that are, maybe 10, 15 minutes. I was really concerned, I think, always with consistency and making sure that we had content available for everybody all the time. And I think that's, clutch when we look at so many brothers out there with some well-meaning intentions who've come out with podcasts. And we are always there to help and push and bolster and spread the word, right? We've always said there's no competition. We're just out there to try to, everybody's in the quarry. We're all elevating everybody, all ships rise kind of thing, mentality.
The tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, but we've also seen a fair share of brothers and sisters who've had podcasts on masonry and kindred sciences, right? Like come and go. And it's been like sad. And sometimes we're like, there's the kind of, joke that I think all successful podcasters have. And it's kind of like, oh, here comes somebody else. Let's see how long they last. It's kind of like the restaurant industry, right? We think about like how many restaurants, like almost every restaurant fails in the first year.
Like a Deadpool.
Mm-hmm. But it's all been great.
Captain Deadpool.
Captain Deadpool, yeah.
No.
Deadpool 3. I think all of it has just been like, I probably would have quit a long time ago if it wasn't for my wife and a couple of crazy emails I got.
So tell me about that. Like, what keeps you going then?
Yeah.
I think what keeps me going is seeing real results and people who actually care, right? Like
So you mean like your 33rd degree, your all your awards and honors that you get from Freemasonry? That's what we're...
Yeah, your honorary title.
Wait a minute. I thought that's what everyone joined Masonry for. Like,
yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean? All the feedback and all the
we get none of us here on this show
kickbacks from Grand Lodge
have gotten a kickback. We've gotten kicked, already kicked back from Grand Lodges. Yeah, I think the thing that keeps us all going is kind of the same thing. We've seen sort of like, at first it was, let's just light a match in the dark. And then there were enough people who kind of started walking up to the match going, oh, I'll light my paper too. And we started gathering together in this kind of this kind of thing where we're coming together to say, hey, I'm in the same boat, same situation. And then after a while, what starts to happen is other people start like lighting matches, right? And we're all of a sudden like the room has started to light up. And and then you take that objective look back and it's no longer kind of like a light in the darkness, but rather an entire grassroots movement. And I'm not saying any one person or one podcast or one blog started anything. Of course, we've got like godfathers like Scott Blaskin out there who did the Digital Freemason.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because I know he was an inspiration of yours.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole WCY podcast is a love letter to Scott. I mean, like he was the guy who was providing me Masonic education when literally I'm like, why the hell am I riding my bicycle to a lodge that has a 17-minute meeting, right? So within that, I think we've seen like what do we say, like a tugboat turn around in a bathtub. like we're starting to see actual movement, and Grand Lodges are starting to invest in their own sort of way. And even though they're creating their own conferences and learning opportunities, they're putting money in those baskets. And I think that's a testament to what not just the WCY podcast has done, but like Chris Hodap and the blog, and Nick Johnson with the Millennial Freemason, and of course this podcast. We have done a lot, and there's a cadre of brothers around the country, guys like Brian Simmons, Mike Jarzabek, right, Alex Powers. There's like somebody in every state, and I think they're like the powerhouse, the movement for Masonic education and things, and we all kind of just ping off of that, and we see the successes in other places, and that goes, man, I think we're doing it. So like, if we've still got ammunition, why wouldn't we still just keep loading it and firing?
Yep,
that's great.
Boom.
Mm-hmm. So, you've been an inspiration to a lot of people, including the rest of us here. I'll speak on behalf of kind of the history of TMR. I was a listener of yours and had not met you in person, and reached out to you, just hit you up on the Facebook and said, hey, pretty much, you don't know me. We may have been Facebook friends, like you friend everybody who's got, an apron or a square and compass in their profile, and said, hey, you don't know me, but I listen to your show. Want to know if you'd try out this crazy idea of doing a dialogue format. And that's you and Nick Johnson and pulling Watts Pulveda and Jason in the very beginning. That's what started this whole thing. It was reaching out to you, one of my inspirations and mentors in digital Freemasonry, which really led to 432 episodes so far of TMR. So thank you very much for that. For now you have like not just your baby, but you have like bastard children, and you have all this.
I was gonna give a really bad example. I was gonna.
You're the Robert Burns of Freemasonry.
Yeah,
what?
Robert? Like I own more Masonic.coms than And it's so funny though, right? Because we're all doing this stuff out of a labor of love for things. We're not looking to make money. We're like taking donations here and there, and what are we spending it on? I think one year
ring light.
Yeah, like we did like Masonic instruction.
Right.
I paid $20 a year for that infrastructure, and that comes out of donations to the show, but I feel that was a thing that
needed to be there.
That needed to be there.
Yeah.
Masonry. And then Alex Powers comes along and he's like, yo, this website sucks. Just kidding. He didn't say that, but he was like, I can give you like a full-blown WP, like a WordPress site. We could build it and it would be even better. So like Alex does all the hosting for it. We've all kind of come together to do these things, and it's sweet of you to say, like I inspired something, but it's just like you had this great idea, and I remember getting a phone call from Juan, like he was like, maybe it was a text. I think he called me because he first time Juan called me and he's like, hey, I want to do a podcast on Masonry, but I wanted to get your approval first. And I was like, I don't
Nice.
own this I don't own like the patent on Masonic pot. He's like, no, I just wanted to be upfront about it. And
it's a very gentlemanly thing to do.
Yeah. Well, that's
it's Juan, very
right?
Juan. Yeah.
Super Juan. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, but like, how'd you get my number? I think he called Grand Lodge or something, and they gave him my digits. So
look out your window.
It was a cold call. Literally, I was sitting in front of the last Blockbuster in my area when I got the phone call from Juan. It was really funny. That's so weird that I remember that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but so he called, right? And then so I get this call from Juan, and he's like, so what do you think? I'm like, I think this is great. Like, how cool would it be to, like, we're all over the country.
Right.
The only thing we were missing was like a West Coaster, but like some of us have lived over in California or visited there enough, like we get it. So sure, why not? And sure enough, I think we've gotten like what a crazy gamut of opinions, and now we're more centralized because we got all Eugenia boys.
Yeah,
but y'all, that's the other thing though.
That's your fault.
Not one of anybody who's ever been on the show as a host is not well traveled outside of their home jurisdiction.
Right.
So,
as Nick
all it
Johnson
is.
used to say, provincial masonry, right? We're outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
Jason.
my first conversation with Robert. I was like,
This is
dude,
dangerous.
well, so John,
Behind
so
a
I was
7-Eleven.
Yes. We kept the doors open to
$20
block
is
the public view.
$20.
Yep.
Eyes wide shut.
Eyes wide open.
Mm.
I get a discount if he keeps his eyes closed.
True.
So I was a late addition to the TMR lineup. Not as late as Joe, but John's like, hey, I'm doing this thing. You want to hop on and help me test the Google Hangouts tech? And I was like, sure, why not? And then so I popped on. This was the night before the first episode, and Robert's on. And I was like, hey, I love your magazine. Totally mixing him up with Rob Hurd, who at the time was producing an online web Masonic magazine out of Colorado.
Yeah. He had the Living Stone.
That's
it.
Living
Yes.
Stone.
Living Stones magazine. So not the same Robert.
No.
So
and he would have completely forgotten that faux pas had you not brought it back up.
yeah.
Oh man, I just saw Jose Venzer. He said pedestrian question. I don't think that's a pedestrian question. That's a good question.
Yeah.
600 episodes. Are there any topics or dream guests I still haven't covered on the interview? Yeah, man. Like I wish
Albert Pike.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't get Albert Pike on.
As a guest?
What?
We could throw some AI at it. We can make that happen.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
AI Albert Pike. Yeah.
AI Albert Pike. Kind of like they did it with Philip K. Dick with
that's right.
Inner Darkly.
Can't spell Albert Pike without AI.
That's true story.
Think about it.
Yeah. I think so. I think guys that I would love to get even like a super deep interview, maybe do like a 10-part interview series or something. He has since done some incredible stuff, but George Adams, past Grand of DC, he wrote a couple books on meditations in Masonry. George R. Adams, he was really cool. I got introduced to him through some of you all know Fratero. George was really cool when he did the podcast and answered all my questions, but he would be an awesome guest. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, some highs, some lows, some Frateros. And I think another guest that would, or a dream guest, man, it's kind of like there's people out there that I wish would just do the show that like just I don't know. They're probably celebrity status or whatever that just never find the time. I'd love
Offerman.
Nick Offerman would be cool. I hadn't thought of that. But you know who plays hard to get? Maybe y'all can get him. Maybe TMR can get him. If you're listening out there, Sean, looking at you, Sean Iyer. Sean's been pretty elusive. He doesn't. So I know his job doesn't really. He's got to watch out for a lot of things because he
doesn't like mixing his masonry and his technology.
Yeah, and so that's fine. And I'm cool with that. But Sean Iyer would be an awesome guest. I'd love to pick his brain. And I have like on the side, like when we've been at, Masonic functions or whatever. He's super cool, way too knowledgeable, way too smart. Of course, those things. Brent Morris would be cool to get on, sure. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love art, but art is coveted, but like actually gets out there and does stuff. So we've all been able to like shake hands with art.
Yeah.
And he's a hoot.
He really is.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah. He is an absolute
He needs a microphone in front of him. He really does.
Yes.
Well, I remember
if masonry could survive.
I was sitting at a dinner with Art at South.
This was a nice fraternity we used to have.
Yeah, I was at a dinner at South Pasadena, South Pass Lodge, and I'm sitting next to Art, And like, I'm kind of starstruck because it's Art de Hoyos, and he's like showing me memes on his phone, and not like stupid, memes, like really my style, which is like dank humor.
Dank me.
Right? And I'm dying, and Art's dying, and I'm like, dude, Art's one of the coolest dudes. So yeah, I mean, there's all those kind of guys, Jose. I mean, there's all kinds of guys out there that have inspired, I think, all of us, whether they're writing books or grand historians. Dan Gardner.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
I'd put Dan Gardner on a pedestal any day. Pay him
So
to
Joe,
yell at the crowd.
yeah.
what's your RJ story?
Oh my goodness. So yeah, I definitely a latecomer. Was
Late
definitely
bloomer.
late bloomer. Yes, was definitely fanboying everybody before I had actually met anybody. I think the first person I met was John. And then I met Robert and Juan and was it Mike at the 300? I think that's the first time I saw everybody in person. But I mean, previous to that, I had, I've told this story many times, so I'm not going to kill you with it. But, I had left Masonry for a long time, mid 2000s I had left. And one of the things that got me back into Masonry was unequivocally Whence Came You. I was commuting from, Northern Virginia into almost DC every day. Some days it'd be a 30-minute commute. Some days it'd be a 2-hour commute. That's just the Beltway for you. But yeah, I would. And again, I didn't come into the show until I think it was around the 200s. So I had a lot of catching up to do. But thanks to a 2-hour commute, I could catch up on 2 or 3 episodes of Whence Came You on a single drive. So, I mean, that was the first thing that really stoked my fire into getting back into Freemasonry, or at least learning that, holy crap, there's all this stuff about Freemasonry that is really out there, and it's not just boring, vapid garbage. This is exciting. Let me go do something with it. So, it probably took me another year or two after I discovered Whence Came You that I walked into a lodge. But when I walked into a lodge, I think I walked in a completely different person than I would have been if I had, never left. So short way to say, it's RJ's fault that
You're still
I'm
worshipful master.
The worshipful master of the Manasseh Lodge. Yeah, but no, I mean, I owe it. And then, shortly thereafter, I found the Masonic Roundtable, and then I would have to pick and choose. So I do WCY in the mornings and TMR in the afternoon ride home.
I recommend that.
Insane. Yes. What a crazy like consumer of Masonic. Like, you're a consumer of all knowledge. It's ridiculous. But
well, I mean, with this, it's well, I mean, we've talked about being a consumer, but I felt like I had so much catching up to do, because I'd see you guys or I'd listen to you guys, and I'm like, damn, I've missed out for years, and I have so much catching up to do. So I would just eat everything and consume everything and absorb as much as I could, because I felt like I had walked away and just left so much on the table.
It's a Masonic buffet.
Yes. Smorgasbord. Cornucopia. Yes.
So I actually have a question for Robert. So again, you've been doing 600 episodes of Whence Came You, and then in parallel been doing 432 episodes of TMR as well. What has that been like for you? Because we haven't really talked about that. Like, you're pulling a double shift, you're pulling double duty, you're coming up with your own content. We are coming up with separate topics. Sometimes there's influence and crossovers, right? I mean, you even had the one Joe Martinez on a couple weeks ago, but the point is still, like, how do you feel juggling both? Is it like cheating on your favorite girlfriend, or is it something else? Like, what is that like?
Your favorite girlfriend? How many freaking girlfriends can you have?
Well, I'm gonna reserve my comment.
700 plus 300, right?
That's the age thing. That's
6.
half your age plus 7.
6. I got 6, right?
6.
We did. We started with Whence Came You.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got the Masonic Roundtable. Then we decided that we wanted to record some Grand Lodge of Illinois
Right.
books. But Grand Lodge was like, yeah, we don't know about that. We don't want to pay for it. So we launched, Freemasonic audiobooks, which was another kind of podcast. Then we did Masonic Radio Theater and
Masonic Radio Theater.
Yeah, that one was so fun. We got to get back to that one someday.
Bill Hosler, bring it back, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the Masonic Readers podcast, which had like some initial drama with it because we were just going to be called Masonic Book Club podcast. And Scottish Rite, Brent Morris, and a couple of guys were like, hey, we're going to relaunch the book club. So can you not use that? And I was like, yeah, I'm not married to it. Like, you're the Scottish Rite. What am I going to do? Tell you no? Of course, like, do it. And so they relaunched the book thing. And
we could change it for a 33rd.
$1 million. Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Hey, man, I don't operate the way Cowles did, okay? Handing out 33s for favors. That was the implication. Anyway,
So you're a man of many hats.
Many hats, but I think to answer your question, no, I never really feel like it's cheating or anything like that. I think there's things that we'll cover on our episodes, and what I try to do with WCY is to get more acute on topics, because we have done so many like broad overview umbrella topics. And then occasionally something might warrant a deeper dive, right? Like in the last series that we did on the elements, we did an initial, then we did a deep dive into each one. And sometimes it's hard to continue to keep up with content and writing content when you gotta pull apart something and you go, well, this plate has carrots, steak, and potatoes. Like there's only so many ways you can describe what these things are. But I think having a blend of 4 different opinions, sometimes when we have a guest, another opinion on topics, and it keeps it fresh. People get new angles on things. And so if TMR inspires me to do something, it's like I pull something niche that one of you says and I find a paper on it. And sometimes, it's something like an old Short Talk bulletin that's not in print anymore. I try to stay away from those now because they have their own podcast.
Right.
But, or just pull something from the bookshelf, and then we pull together several different resources and I think something else that's interesting is the level of inspiration that I get from TMR also feeds the fire for WCY. Like for me in my head, they are symbiotic in a sense that like something is inspirational here and makes me go, yeah, you gotta get the podcast out, or vice versa. Like I might not be feeling up for a show on a Thursday night, and I'm going to be like, yeah, but you know what? This is like what we do. We've seen results out in the real world with Masonic education, and dudes like going, oh, these guys are talking about it. They're validating my feelings. This is the way I feel. I want Masonic education in my lodge. And so it's like, while we're just men in the quarries of Masonry, like we that's our give back, right? Like, Jason, you didn't go to lodge tonight.
I'm going to lodge tomorrow night.
But but like also you're here tonight, right? So you are doing Masonry. Yeah. John, you're here. Like you love certain aspects of Masonry. You vote with your feet. You go where you can at times when you can, and you're invested. Like your SRICF, the love you have for those kinds of things is awesome. And I think,
and I think that
we feed on it.
Yeah, exactly what you said, because one quality of yours, Robert, again, with kind of preloaded into that question about how do you wear all the different hats and how do you separate WCY from TMR, you're all in, right? You are focused. You have a lot of attention to the uniqueness of each of these things that you bring to the craft, right? And so you are also not just hyper focused in the sense that you're all about one thing, but you are also contextually aware. Like you said, hey, if someone else says, hey, they want to do a similar podcast, you're like, sure, I'll change the name of this. Like, I mean, that is very emotionally intelligent to be able to step back and say, that I want to do all these things, and I want to not shut anyone else out while I'm doing it.
Yeah,
So,
well, I think
kudos to you.
I think, well, okay, so this goes back to the quote, that Isaac Newton quote again. I think there's so much value in, I don't know how best to say it, but like, if you can be the stepping stone for somebody else and they have good intention and you believe in what they're going to do, like be the movie producer who finds like that awesome writer, that awesome filmmaker, and you're like, yeah, this is a lot of money, but you know what? I don't care. Like, I believe in your project. I think this is awesome. Use me as a stepping stone. And I think we've all done that. Like, we've all helped each other, like launched each other forward on something, but it's not for the sense of it's not just for the sense of like, I'm your friend and I want you to succeed. It's also like so how to win friends and influence people. Dude talks about all of these things, and people, their biggest critique is like, it's disingenuous because you're like trying to people hack.
Yeah, it says like, be interested in someone else, right? And
But,
because people like talking about themselves.
In Masonry, the interest that you have, you can rest assured, is genuine. Like,
right.
When one of us talks about somebody else's presentation, or we like prop it up, or we push something for an event that we really think, we're not doing that because somebody's paying us,
right,
or just because they're our friend. We're doing it because every time we go to that thing, we feel invested in it. Every time we go to we hear this presentation, we're learning something new, and we enjoy learning, right? And so, yeah, whether you call it, emotional intelligence or whatever, I think it's just something that I've learned, through years in the fraternity and watching mentors help other people.
Because you are genuinely interested in other people and the benefit to the craft as a whole, right? Even if you're not explicitly saying it, you're there not as Robert Johnson, you're there as a member of the craft trying to, build an edifice.
Put my hand like this, and you put your foot in it. Let's go. Like that's what we got to do.
Robert, not everybody's like you, man.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know that.
Well, I know that, but like we've all said on the show, we've joked about titles. We've made dank memes about title chasers. We've joked about this.
Continue to make dank memes on the subject.
Yeah, say what you want, but none of us got in this craft. Like we didn't even know about titles.
Yeah.
And like we still don't care about them, like it's cool to get an opportunity to take your talent. Like John, when you were membership, Grand Lodge of Virginia can yell at me all day, but the fact that you're not doing that anymore is a mistake. So you can keep your mouth shut because I don't need anybody yelling at you, but they can yell at me all day. Like you have a genuine talent there, and you're not title chasing anything. You just wanted to help out. You brought solutions, and sometimes things happen.
People don't like the answers.
Yeah. And so,
thank you.
Yeah, for sure. You've all been in various committees and things, and like that one day they're going to be sorry that Joe's a DEO.
They already are.
One day.
They already are.
I mean, last Tuesday, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Robert, favorite episode or episode series of the past 600 of yours personally? I mean, like all your kids, you love them all, but
yeah,
who's your favorite?
So
the ones where Jason Richards was a guest.
Obviously.
There we go.
I think okay. So conversations with my friends were really great. And yeah, that's like some executive privilege kind of garbage, right? I make the show, so If I want to interview a friend of mine, I'm going to interview a friend of mine. Early on, I had a sort of I was trying to like figure out how to podcast. So I was recording interviews using Google Voice, and sound quality wasn't the best, but I tried. And the interview is still great. I really enjoyed. There was an interview I did with. Let me just pull up the thing really quick here. Yeah, here we go. Brian Kennard. Brian Kennard was a really awesome interview, and I can't remember the episode, but he did a book called Steinbeck Citizen Spy, The Untold Story of John Steinbeck and the CIA. And it was a really cool ass episode. John Steinbeck is a Mason. You guys probably know Steinbeck. You've all read his works, whether you know it or not. You've seen movies based on Steinbeck and some of his works, but it was just a really cool interview to interview an author who also ran a publishing company that wanted to talk about some kind of like little known stuff. And that was really cool. And that was a neat like breakout into a realm of interviews that I hadn't done before. Like to that point, it was like, oh, you were this, and this in the Grand Lodge. Tell me how you did this. He was one of the first people that I met who had created a sort of Masonic work, who was also a brother, who was telling a unique story that happened outside of Freemasonry that affected history. And I thought that was really cool. There have been, lots of cool guests. I think that was a lot of fun. Series that we've done in the past, like right now we're doing Manly P. Hall's Occult Anatomy, which is a lot of fun.
Love it.
But I think also we've done 10 questions for 10 worshipful masters was a really popular.
I like that one.
That was good. Yeah.
I never had such varied opinions and interesting conversations as I had with that series. We had, there was even one where there's a brother that you all know will remain nameless at this point because he had asked me to remove his episode, which I did. But like even that episode, it pained me to like remove it because I thought the insights that this brother had were like so amazing. I remember interviewing Scott Duvall when he was the master of DC Krieger 81 at a pancake house. I set the phone down on the table, and the whole time you can just hear like the clanking of the silverware and this conversation that's happening. But it was so fun to do that.
Sounded like Joe's rings.
Yeah, like Joe's rings. And I have thought actually before we started doing the Occult Anatomy series, I had thought like, hey, I think it might be time to do another 10 for 10 and pick out another sitting, 10 worshipful masters. And I was actually considering making Joe's before I had decided on my questions that morning. I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to make this the 10 for 10. Not yet. Because I just wanted to talk about Manasseh and the success that lodge has some weird voodoo magic to make things awesome. But yeah, so yeah, I think the 10 for 10 Master Series is probably my favorite series that we did.
I have to jump in from the questions and throw this up again because I don't think we honor and recognize this person enough. Number one, Corey, every single person here absolutely adores and loves you. Thank you for letting your husband play with us for all these years and staying out after the lights go out. And probably a lot of thanks coming from other places just to allow your husband to be such an important part of our lives. So I didn't want to skip that today. So let's definitely do that. And
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you to Corey.
Yeah, thanks.
Well said.
My wife is definitely, I've said it before. Sometimes people ask questions that are kind of interesting that I won't really go into, but I'll say my wife is way better Mason than I am. And it's so funny because she really is the person who, like, we got to like 160, 170 episodes or something. And I was like, I don't know if we're going to do this podcast anymore. It takes up a lot of time. And she's like, yeah, but what about that trucker email or whatever, because I used to get some, man, like it's just weird how, like, you'll get an email that's very, or a contact or whatever, that's very super serious, and very, like, kind of emotionally raw about what a podcast or an episode meant to somebody, or how it hit them or whatever. And you're just like, oh man.
Yeah, guess I can't stop now.
Yeah, right.
Why we do this, right?
Son of a gun.
Like,
I was this close to hanging the hat. Oh, wait.
How many times have we at TMR, like, we get an email to the TMR inbox, like, finally joined. You guys are the thing that pushed me over the edge.
Yeah, there's been a couple comments tonight.
Upwards of 3 years later after they started, like, listening. Yeah.
Like, sick. I mean, that's so cool. You're welcome, Grand Lodges. Like in jest, but also serious. Yeah. This is the content that people are looking for, that, and it's not the Grand Lodge's fault, right? Like, we put sometimes a little too much heat, I think, on Grand Lodge for those things. Lodges need to produce this kind of content. And if they're not, this is kind of where we operate. And hopefully in the future, nobody needs a stupid Masonic podcast or a Masonic con. But until that day comes, I think we're just going to keep on killing it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to keep on doing it as long as it's still entertaining and interesting and fun.
So to that point, what do the next 600 episodes of WCY bring?
That's a good question. I started adding a 0 to the beginning of each of the things because I didn't know how many of these I was going to do.
I noticed. Yeah.
So, yeah, I have no idea. I mean, because we bounced around so much.
It's like the Y2K bug. Like, crap, I got to add another 0 here.
Mm-hmm. Well, Masonry, like, people go, hey, you're never going to run out of content. You're right. I'm never going to run out of content because there is more Masonic papers and books that I could even read, start to finish, from now until the day that I die.
Yeah.
And so whatever. So I'm never going to be short of content. But what's awesome about Masonry is this idea of this progressive moral science. The idea that how we act in this world and the use of the working tools affects how we operate in the world and how we operate in our day-to-day, like, actual practical living. Juan Sepulveda, huge proponent of this idea of practical application of Masonry. And I think we all learned a lot from him about asking that question, like, so what? What does it mean for us? And within that, we start looking at how those things impact our actual jobs and things. And so it's created an outlet to say, we could do a whole TMR episode on the recent announcements in astronomy. We could do a whole TMR episode on the recent announcement of some biblical discovery. And people will say, well, it's not Masonic. Well, I'm sorry.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it part of the sciences?
Wait. Yeah.
So there's so much content, and there's so many ways that Masonry, you can look at all those topics through the Masonic lens. And that Masonic lens doesn't always have to be to, like, make it, exclusively Masonic, but to say it's a learning opportunity, because there's really nothing more Masonic than learning. So,
I mean, next week when we actually talk about apotheosis,
woo woo. Yeah, I'm like getting all my show notes together and things this afternoon.
That was part of the heist.
And I get it. I start dropping stuff in there, and then all of a sudden I see this little screenshot. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me? What?
We picked apotheosis because we knew you had to, like, be here for that.
For that, yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.
But we'll do it next week.
Yes.
If I didn't say it again, my wife is awesome, and thank you to her for continuing to push me, even when I have my mansies. And yeah, you guys have, that stupid is it Bette Midler who sings a song, "You're the Wind Beneath My Wings"?
Yes.
Let's get cheesy. That's what you. That's what you all are. Yeah.
Sarah
Yeah.
McLachlan.
Don't. No, God.
No, we don't need an ASPCA commercial.
Yeah. Somebody like they're gonna start. Yeah, people are gonna start crying. But like that, and these people like who are constantly in our chat every single week. Sun Card. I'd say your real name, but I don't want to. Yeah, Kenneth and Jose, who I've had the distinct pleasure of hanging out with, like at Masonic Week.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jose, I'm gonna call him out, even though we don't mix certain topics or whatever. I am friends with Jose on Facebook, and he's a well-known Mason, and like what he posts and what he stands for, and like a lot of guys that we follow who are in these chats we're friends with, like you're doing the Lord's work, man, like real Masonry out there. So I think that's really special, and it's true for a lot of y'all, so it's cool.
Jose is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, he is. I agree.
All right, I'll open it up for any last digs. I mean, kudos you want to send to Robert, Jason, or Joe before we start to wrap things up. Anything come to mind? I mean,
I give him kudos on the daily. So
indeed,
yes,
true story. Yeah.
Never enough.
Never
And I
enough.
appreciate it.
So Robert, when I look at products and entrepreneurship, like there's a cycle of you got to try 40 things for one to take off.
Yeah.
Dude, you've tried 30 things and 50 things have taken off because of them. Like
blind luck, right? It's the benefit of high functioning obsessive compulsive disorder.
what do they say? It's when
I'm gonna buy Jason a calculator.
Well, it's I think one is the passion, but the other is the empathy and the amount of care you put in, not just into your passion projects, but the people those projects are intended to reach. Like I think I attribute your empathy and your love for others, as a direct correlation to like the success you've had and the success you continue to have, because you're so genuine, and just so great and just such a wonderful guy.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I would say if I could, I'm trying to think of like a good story I've got for each one of you nerds.
not at all.
There was the time where a truck hit John's Tesla, and it was a real bummer.
Ouch.
And you had drawn the tower card.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
And that was like, holy cow, so
No joke.
fortuitous. Yeah, the number of times I've like asked John, like, hey man, you got some girls, why is this happening?
Yeah. Four
know,
girls in a row.
Yeah, the advice, there it is.
Ooh, pasta tower.
I love it. Jason,
You're at an Olive Garden.
meeting Jason for the first time in Pennsylvania. I was like, holy cow, you are literally the sons of angels and men.
The Nephilim.
Yeah. So who's tall? So was Nick Johnson. Jeez Louise.
Yes.
A surpriser.
Yeah, I was not expecting Nick Johnson to look like he played for the Minnesota basketball team. Joe Martinez, I think our first meeting was in Chicago over a steak dinner, and you gave me a book. And it was the book on the Lucis that was written by, at the time, that book was written by like the secretary to the Tsar of Russia. But it was a Masonic book. And it was rebound in the Grand Lodge of Boston, Massachusetts. It's just really crazy the way like we all met, and like I guess we got to get another cool picture of the four of us with no pants on. I'll just say that.
You had to be there. All right, let's move on from that conversation and
On that note,
get to final thoughts. Here's what we're going to do tonight. For final thoughts, we're going to save Robert for last, who's going to close us out with the final bumper before we head out. So that means I get the opportunity to go first for once, and I'm going to say, Robert, love you, man. You've been a huge journey, and you're the backbone of TMR, and so I really appreciate everything that you've done. 600 episodes of WCY, and the question always gets asked to me. The same goes to you. I didn't bring it up because it's asked so many times. How do you keep coming up with new ideas? And you alluded to it. That we're always inspired. We're inspired by everything that we see and do when we interact with our brothers and brotherly love. And so you are an exemplar of that, and I do appreciate everything that you do for this fraternity. So congratulations, kudos, and cheers for your continued success for another 600 episodes. Jason?
Oh, wow. So RJ, I feel like I've already gushed about how awesome you are. So I'll save everybody the waterworks and no, I won't. RJ, I am very much, for the first time in my life, and I've referenced this on the show. Over the past 2 years, I have been, for the first time in my life, content and excited about my spiritual journey. And I have you to thank for that, because you were the first person I interacted with who convinced me to break out of my shell and start asking the hard questions that ultimately led to a 10-year-long deconstruction of spirituality and faith. And I owe the vast majority of that initiative to you.
Awesome. Okay, Joe, you're up.
what can I say?
You Robert, can say a lot.
I could, but I'm not going to, because we're running close on time. Robert, you know I absolutely adore you. I love you. You are a triumph. You are the giant that people stand on top of. And you do it from a place of genuine love and genuine concern, and it's breathtaking, and it's so needed in the world. And I could go on and on and on, but I just want to say personally, thank you. Thank you for teaching me all those years ago what Freemasonry is supposed to be, and giving me the impetus and the desire to want to learn it for myself. So I think without you, that would not have happened. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
All right. So with the big surprise of tonight's pivot for its episode, we're going to hand it off to you, Robert, to close us out, not as WCY, but as the TMR host that you already are. So, Robert, what say you?
What a stupid, incredible, goofy idea you guys had. It was a total surprise. I can't thank you enough for all that you guys have done for me over the years. I don't know what to say other than to say it's just like, I feel so lucky to be able to share time with you guys every week and see you on occasion, multiple times a year at wherever we're going. It's a thing that I always look forward to. It's kind of like that your fraternal brothers or whatever from college or something, like where they're like, oh, we're getting together. The boys are getting together this week. We all graduated 20 years ago, but that core group or whatever is going to go do a thing. But the best part about it is it's not like some goofy debaucherous ordeal, right? It's us getting together, sharing stories about our families, hanging out, not always going out to dinner. Sometimes it's cooking tacos in the kitchen together, or whatever the case is. And sitting in lodge with you guys has just been like incredible. Whenever we've ever able to be doing that, or going out and we're doing these Masonic conventions and things, the time that we spend behind the scenes is, incredible, and it's the most valued part of my life outside of my my wife, my kids, my family. It's the fraternity, and you guys are on the top rung of that pedestal. So for everybody out there, if you listen to this whole episode, you are goofy. I hope you all enjoyed this ridiculous episode. I hope you come back next week when we actually talk about something that matters, right? Something that's really, this was great. I really appreciate you guys. I love you guys for doing it. But I'm going to divert it, right? Because it's about all of us doing these things. So until next week, as John always says, keep searching for more light. We'll see you next week.
Wow.